Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by two wonderful gentlemen from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're joined today by Dave Nichols, who is the co-founder and president of Feel the Vibe, and Nate Moore, who is the going to get this wrong, Chief Relationship Officer. So I've been doing my homework, gentlemen. I've been doing my homework. I first met Dave through Heartfelt Presence. Occasionally we hand over from one to another and have spent some time together there. And those conversations have sort of blossomed into us having conversations more broadly than that. And I wanted to have get an understanding of what the Feel the Vibe are all about and what they're up to. And he then introduced me to Nate. And so I just thought it would be wonderful to have the pair of them on to explain what they're up to in the world and share that with all of you. So welcome, gentlemen. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
You are very welcome. If I may, it would be wonderful if you guys wouldn't mind explaining what Feel the Vibe is up to, what you're all about, and what you're trying to do in the world.
Well, I guess Nate said I had to start since I was the quote founder, but I wasn't really the founder as much as I was just an encourager from talking with the one person that kind of was closest to me when I was director of the Center for Sustainable Change. This was Roger Mills' organization that had to fold not too many years prior to our thinking of this because of lack of funding. And I guess for me, when someone asks me, what is Feel the Vibe? I start with, well, it doesn't really exist because it's an invitation. It's not a place. It's not a thing. It's not something, a label that you can put on something. Right. It's Feel the Vibe. And it's an invitation to every person to connect with themselves and with another, whether it's an individual or a small group, whether it's a community, which is what I had come through when I was working with the Center for Sustainable Change in Lakeview, and or whether it's a state or a country or a world. I mean, it's let us feel the connection with humanity, with each other, recognize the beauty and the vibrancy of life. And in sharing that, we all can realize how special life is, whether it's for us individually or for each of us as a whole. Yeah. Obviously, we've had to put, because we're living in this world, the world that's been given to us right now, obviously we have to have some modicum of structure. So we have incorporated by the state laws, and we're a nonprofit organization because everything that we offer is offered freely. Mm-hmm. And we really see this structure as an enabling structure as opposed to a solidifying structure.
Mhm.
We don't see this as, okay, that's feel the vibe, but you're something else. No, any person that connects with us is feeling the vibe because of the connection. And our primary focus, in order to have some earmarks that people can see, because everybody wants to know, what is feel the vibe? What do they do? Well, they is us, and we're doing all of it. But to get that message across, we still have to point at something that we are about, or
Mhm.
something that can be summarized and allowing someone to have judgment, because the way we think is about judging the world.
Mhm.
And we make sense of that as we make sense of little bits and pieces of it. So we allow some judgment and trust it, but at the same time point to a broader understanding. So we've earmarked Mecklenburg County. Y'all should be familiar with, in the UK at any rate, with all of these European names like Charlotte and Mecklenburg. But we have earmarked Charlotte as a starting point, not because that's where we are, because we feel we're much broader than that. The connections we have, as is evident right now with the UK. I mean, we spent a couple of weeks ago with Jean Catherine in Charlottesville, Virginia, and had folks from Portland, Oregon, with the Insight Alliance. I mean, so
Mhm.
it is, feel the vibe is, again, is not just a thing, it's the relationships that are built,
Yeah.
whether it's individual or corporate, whether it's organizations that have the same understanding, or organizations who've never heard of this understanding but are trying to share love. So giving that to the world is what we're trying to do. We're focusing initially here as I guess, a marketing tool is to focus on the relatively younger population. I say that because at 81, I'm not on that side of things. Nate's a little closer than I am, but we're focusing on the younger adults who statistically have exhibited in our country a propensity at a level of almost 50% to have consistent episodes of loneliness, social separation, anxiety, depression, and even suicidal ideations. And we feel that by focusing on that, we can draw in people who might never consider themselves a candidate for mental health.
Mhm.
I'm just having a bad day, but I'm stuck in this place. People who would probably run from something called the three principles. Oh, here's another game that somebody's playing. Our goal is to bring the principles, if you will, without mentioning them to the rest of the world,
Hmm.
to people who are not in the choir, but who are on the streets and sweeping the streets and the schools, the people involved in everyday life. And so that's our initial effort. But and Nate can tell you a little bit of some of how we've manifest those in some of the programs we're proposing or are doing. But I think the main purpose is to be open and be a safe and comfortable place where people can share who would never open the door for something more formal or more structured or more what is my word I want? More teaching. That there's not something to learn. It's something that they actually have,
Hmm.
and they don't know it.
That is the key.
Yeah.
For me as the relationships. And I say this without wanting to have a label. I'm just
Hmm.
one of those that I don't need titles or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to meet people where they are and share the love from the source that has created all of us. And what I've learned in this understanding uh, is that we all have it within us, and we just have to pause long enough or get quiet long enough for that innate wisdom to just naturally rise.
Hmm.
And in that knowing, that's where I call the secret sauce. Um, and it makes it easier for me because when Dave introduced me to the book Modelo, uh, one thing that really stood out to me was that Dr. Mills told Lloyd Fields, I just want you to go and meet the people and be with the people. And when that became Dave's instruction to me, it made all the sense in the world to me because in my struggles, in my journey, someone had to see something in me that I didn't see in myself and allow me in that safe space to really look within and be okay with what I saw of myself. And so that's what Dave provided me back in 2010 when I met him in Lakeview, when Center of Sustainable Change was the organization that he was leading. And so Feel the Vibe is just that. It's the wisdom that we all have within us. It's the love, it's the sharing, it's seeing each other for the humans that we are. We just need to take the necessary steps to make the connection.
Hmm.
And in that connection is when I see the magic happens. So the vibe is everywhere. And
Hmm.
there is no one, nothing that can take me away from this knowing in any given situation. And I just allow that to just show up in those moments and recognize that, oh, there it is again. Because when you witness it and when you know it for yourself, you know when it shows up. And it's always on time. So in that knowing is where the vibe I can truly share with others without having to explain or illustrate or teach. It's just simple. Let's just be and see what happens. Let's be curious and see what happens. And inevitably it shows up.
Yeah, it's the something beautiful in what you've both said there in terms of the fact that the simplicity behind how everybody works, that even when someone is lost in their own world, um, all it all that's really required is someone to show up who can see through that message and hold enough space with enough curiosity to draw that out of the person and allow them to see what they've got. It's a little bit, the Christmas tree in the background. It's a little bit like we know what's inside the present. We're anticipating what's going to happen when they unwrap it. They are you know, they don't like the look of the wrapping paper to start off with, but actually what's on the inside is way more valuable, and it's inside them. Um, and I think it's really exciting that uh, while the principles are the guide, they aren't required. Language wise, it's certainly how I operate most of the time. I was lucky enough to speak with Prince Jamar from Rebels for Peace a couple of weeks ago. I had a beautiful conversation with him, and again, they are coming from having been taught by people from with a principles background, but without using that language. It doesn't feature in anything that they do, and it absolutely features in everything that they do. Um,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and I think that's what's really, really exciting about what you're up to. Because as you were saying, Dave, language and labels and various other bits and pieces can really get in the way of what it is that we're trying to do, which actually is raise people's consciousness, allow them to see that they are whole and perfect already,
Yeah.
um, and see where they can go from that. So no, that's wonderful to hear what you're up to. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
One of the I feel one of the central tenets of how we're organizing is around deep listening. And you were actually just referring to it in everything you just said. Um, I, I, I personally, well, and Nate as well, neither of us had ever met Sid Banks. I tried once, but by the time we got there that year, he had passed away 3 months before. It was one of those. But I learned everything from Roger Mills. And my personal relationship with him was probably just as strong or stronger than I would ever had with Sid. And I've said many times, to me, what I got from that relationship was that Roger seemed to have one mantra that he would often repeat. I don't even know that he was conscious of it, but he would, in talking with someone, no matter who it was, where it was, he would say, I'm just curious. Can you tell me? I'm just curious. And connecting with someone on that simple but honest connection of, I care about you. I care about you enough to want to know more,
Mm.
want to go deeper. I want to connect in a non-superficial way. And so to me, that is the driving force behind what we're about, but also it's, as Nate says, the secret sauce of having connections that people see, oh, I must have some value. I must have worth. You mean I can actually do something I've never even thought of?
Wow. Yeah.
It's what can be engendered from that simple question. Tell me more. I really want to know you. And in that simple language, simple connections, simple words, when we connect as human beings, there's a vibe, and you can't describe it.
Yeah. It's indescribable.
Can't describe it. So anyway, thank you
Yeah,
for sharing
that's
that.
cool. Very
Yeah.
helpful. Thank you. Um, you mentioned, you're running some programs already. You've got some ambitions for others with regards to engaging with young adults that are struggling with social isolation and various other bits and pieces. Um, what does that look like? What is it that you are offering that cohort of people, and how are you bringing them either together or individually to engage with you and see what's on offer, I suppose.
That's one of the great questions that we hear often, and we love to like, oh, there's another opportunity to like share.
Please do.
So,
Floor's all yours.
right. So let's start with the idea of reconnection circles or just connection circles. Uh, it really started as a cup with Joe, and using the metaphor of you and I sitting down having a cup of coffee, and we're total strangers, but let's have a cup of coffee and just get to know each other as human beings. So we took that idea, formulated the connection circles because we wanted to maintain a level of intimacy. So we're keeping the group small, and we meet once a week here in the office space. And we've been to other venues where, people feel comfortable.
Mhm.
We want them in a space where they can come in and feel the vibe and know that they're in a safe space. And the idea of the structure comes into play when we talk about, how do we reach people and things like that. So we have a certain topic, and the topic is just a starting point because we know in our own lived experience and our experience with, sharing this understanding that it has a way of its own to navigate whatever situation that you may have people in.
Mhm.
And we certainly find that out each and every Tuesday night when we're talking, because we'll start off with the subject, but it will take us to a place where everyone is like, oh my goodness, I would have never thought I would have experienced what I experienced tonight. And so again, it's in that knowing that we just want to create the space to allow people to come and really reveal within themselves something that they may not have even thought about. When you hear people say, I didn't come here to share what I shared, but I'm glad I did
Mhm.
because now I understand me a little deeper than when I first came in here. So that program is one that we're growing, and it doesn't have to be like right up. We're on meetup.com, right? So a lot of the people come from that. That's where a lot of our demographic young adults are there and targeted. So that's one space that we have kind of expanded into. The other is with organizations. Uh, there are organizations that are interested in bringing us in, particularly MECMEN, who is an interfaith network of all these different churches,
Congregation.
congregations, and that kind of thing.
Synagogues.
Yeah.
We got
I mean, I was just blown away when I went to one of their events, but they were doing the same thing as we're doing,
Mhm.
just basically coming together. They call it open tables. We call it connection circles. But it's just individuals who've never met each other before come together and they have a topic. But now we're going to collaborate with them a little bit deeper because they realize that what we're bringing to the table can enhance the experience of the faith communities.
Mhm.
And we all understand that, faith communities have their structure. And so when we talk about faith, I can talk about my faith all day long and how I balance it with this understanding of the principles. But then I found out within my own struggles that my faith was really saying the same thing that the principles were saying, just in a different way. It's all about, what do I think about myself? Can I meet people truly where they are in a moment of love and sharing and forgiveness? Can I really be present? And is that going to allow what I believe, that moment where we can connect on a deeper level? All of that to me was like, this is the same thing. Do I have faith in something larger than that I can't see, that I don't know, but yet I can have faith in? So I took all of that on and processed it from within in order to make it easier for people to see that light in me.
Mhm.
And it comes with sharing my past, my ups, my downs, my shame, my guilt, because we're all human and we're all dealing with the same stuff.
Mhm.
We're just covering up our wisdom with this crazy thinking that we got. But when I share with them that there's understanding of the power of thought is truly a key to kind of unlock that wisdom, people go, I I would have never thought that it could be that simple. So those two outreach programs that we're doing at Feel the Vibe is truly like our engine that we're using to reach outward to the community.
Cool.
When we're working with organizations as well, there's two levels, I think, that we're approaching them, because, for example, Hope Haven is a transitional housing facility here in Charlotte, and we're just initiating this because we're just starting, and every day is a new day.
Right.
So we're starting every day. But the idea that we have is to be able to serve the staff of Hope Haven so that they can gain an understanding for themselves of what their deeper mission is,
Mhm.
what their purpose is, and in that realize that that both of those are driven by the people that have been given to them in care,
Mhm.
and from that we see the possibilities of growing our 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 presence, not so much an intervention, but just our presence to their entire population.
Yeah.
But the strength of it will be based on the staffs having gained this before we try to introduce it to the transient population that they have.
Yeah. Right, that makes perfect sense. If you're trying to share an idea broadly, it makes sense to do it at a level that has the ability to cascade down. And Nate, you're going to enjoy this one because the book that springs to mind is Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette, who talks about, I'll send you a link to it, guys,
Okay. Thanks.
who
Thank you.
it was, doing amazingly well as in the submarine world, and
Hmm.
had been earmarked to be on, the best submarine once he finished his command training as his sort of main command appointment, and then in the year of of his training, he knew which boat he was going to be going on, and got all the staff records, was learning who was on board, who was in the crew, learning the ins and outs of how the machine worked, and all the rest of it. And then about a month or so beforehand, the admiral in charge said, "Actually, change of plan. Um, I need you to go on the worst boat in the fleet because it's falling apart, and I think
Right.
you're the person that's going to be able to flip this." And it made him reconsider his whole leadership style. And actually, he feels he's a better leader as a result of having his card table flipped and go, right,
Right.
pick up the bits, work it out. Because
Yeah.
he had no idea on that class of submarine. He'd never worked on it. He knew none of the people from doing his research. He's like, right, okay, how am I going to do this? And it started rather than top down. He went middle, went to the sort of middle management and said, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And then the aim was to empower them to challenge everything in a constructive way and do everything with intent. So rather than it all being directive from the top down, he wanted to hear every member of the crew saying, "This is the situation. This is what I intend to do," and then getting permission to do that. So they were
Yeah.
offering up solutions. Um, it's a fascinating book. I will make sure I share a link to you
Please.
both.
Yes. Please share that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank
But
you
it's
for that, because that's Dave to the core, and I had to get accustomed to that because from the military mindset to civilian mindset, I didn't have that smooth transition. So I was looking for help, and Dave kept pushing me into my uncomfort zone
Mhm.
in order to, on the other hand, to say, you can do this. It's already in you. Just be with the people. Just be you. And that just being me was enough to really help me to understand that, yeah, this isn't rocket science. Just show genuine love coming from a pure place, and just be. And in that, I found the confidence I needed to really understand what it means for us to really help someone.
Mm.
And it was that simple for me. But it's that idea that you just mentioned about, wow, let's go in the middle here and empower others to be who they are. So yeah, that's, man.
Because that works both directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way he
Break
saw
it
it. So
down.
right, if I go here, there's chance of I've got a short period of time before we need to sail. I need as many people on board, well, yeah, on board as possible with how we're going to solve this. So if I go at this level, it will work its way through the crew in both directions because that's what we need to happen.
Yeah.
And he saw that in the past, his the way he judged people in their command was how well that vessel did during the tenure of that person. And if the person changed and everything went downhill, well, that was that was the new person coming in rather than anything else. What he noticed doing, flipping it completely on its head was that actually the crew should be able to survive without him. It should have nothing to do with him. And a crew's ability to do an amazing job is baked in. And therefore, when he went on to command at higher levels, he looked at the crews that managed to maintain things and went, right, the leader that set that in motion is probably the one that we want to go up the train rather than the one that's allowed it to dip. And interestingly, uh, the boat that he'd served on went from bottom to the top of the fleet, and from there stayed there for a good 10 years,
Yeah.
because he empowered them to do their own thing and not be reliant on one individual.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow.
And that's exactly what happened in Modelo.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It matters not what the community is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what happened in
In
Lakewood.
Lakewood. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
the thing I've come to realize more and more in the work that I've been doing for the last 8 years or so is that my role is to help people realize they're designed to thrive in any situation. And it doesn't matter what that situation is, what it is that they do, everybody is designed to thrive. And if you come at the world from that viewpoint, then you look at things in a very, very different way and see possibilities in others that they don't see for themselves. And that again helps everything rise.
Absolutely. Oh man, you hit that right on the head. And I like to hear Dave when he mentions, when we share this understanding, we like to educate others because educate really means to draw out. And even in your work that I've seen you're doing, man, you just provide a space for people to just let that wisdom rise, and that to me is just amazing.
Mm.
Uh, and I'm striving to get to that place,
Mhm.
where people could just and know that
Mm.
it has nothing to do with Nate, zero, but it has everything to do with what they have within.
Yeah.
The other corollary to what this all means for me, and in describing what uh, programs, what offerings, what venues, what are we doing?
Yeah.
The real power is in this, in that from every connection there will evolve other interest, other creative ways of sharing that personally we would never have thought of.
Mm.
But it's not about us. It's about unlocking that potential and that wisdom in each person. And so we are, as far as where this is going, we have no idea. But
I think that's part of the fun of it, isn't it?
It is.
that's we just need to see it when it happens.
Yeah.
Because so often in structures, you don't see it. That's not what we're doing. Put that away. We're focused over here.
Yeah.
But having a non-existent structure that allows that creativity to be born and to bear fruit is, to me, why this is called feel the vibe rather than, make this happen.
Right.
Hmm.
Just one evolution that we think is going to bear meaningful fruit, that is one of our team has been for years involved in ecstatic dance where folks express themselves through movement. But he has seen why this is truly reflective of what Feel the Vibe is. And so he's in the process of bringing this understanding through pointing to folks who are already getting a glimpse of it through ecstatic dance. And yet, to make a transition from the actual dance to seeing life as a dance.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's literally no limit.
No. And that's really cool.
Yeah.
And whether it has the name Feel the Vibe on it or not, that's irrelevant.
Yep.
Right.
It's not the name that we're looking for.
Yeah.
It's what's seen
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
looking for.
A friend of mine, a fellow veteran, but that's by the by. He established something in Edinburgh this year called the Edinburgh Sea Shanties, because something that he saw while on operations in Afghanistan, while he was serving with the Welsh Guards, um, the Welsh Guards, each company had a hymn book, and everybody issued a copy of the hymn book. And on Sunday, in the evening, when they were back in from patrol, they would sing. And on the patrol bases, everybody was singing at the same time, and it just he saw how singing together, it didn't matter that the religiousness state of those hymns, that was irrelevant really. It was the act of singing together that brought people together and allowed them to feel more connected to each other. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, he set up Edinburgh Sea Shanties in the summertime. I think they had started off with 4 or 5 people coming to it. They're up, it tends to happen in a pub, so there's a sort of added incentive, I suppose. But they're pulling crowds of 100 twice a month, and it's the vibe in the room of people singing together and having fun that's giving them an experience of being human, which they're attributing to the sea shanties at the moment. But that's fine. It's the connection together and the feeling that they're creating internally that they're then bouncing off each other with, which is wonderful.
You just perfectly described the vibe.
Thank you. I have been listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we had an idea just yesterday that there might be value in attracting folks into discussion groups around books.
Mhm.
Much like the singing. If who else is reading this book? And having discussions around the book, but it shares a commonality that opens them up
Mm.
to more.
It provides a starting point.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Which is the reason why we want them to bring their book instead of us having a
The
book
book.
for everybody to share.
Ah,
So
cool. Oh, right, cool. So people bring their own book.
yes.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another corollary that is surfaced for us and this is Norm Mitchell,
Mhm.
said that his church is very, very committed and interested in addressing the loneliness and depression and everything that's going on, particularly among the elderly population of his church. And what we've seen in that is that young people that we've targeted initially are lonely and depressed and don't know which way to turn. But the last person that they would ever want to have advice from are their parents. But now the grandparents are a different question. And they are much more open to hearing the wisdom within that grandparent. And so the epiphany that we had just in talking with him was, oh, we can introduce to lonely seniors an opportunity not to be less lonely,
To be of service.
but to be of service to someone who is lonely. Never even saying, oh, do you feel lonely? Or we're not going there.
Yeah.
Would you like to help someone who else is connecting them? Guess what? Two lonely people who are connected
Yeah.
are not lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, it, it reminds me, I was working for a company at one point, and we were doing a fairly tricky project with teams that didn't like each other, but both teams were required, without them, nothing was going to work. And because I was the new boy, it was right, Dave, you need to make this go, you need to make this happen. They hate each other, and it's never, it's going to be difficult. So right, okay. So I put my new boy hat on and went and played. Can I ask some silly questions, please? With each individual group, um, and got their views on how it should be, realized that they were both in alignment, and brought them together going, right, well, this is what I'm hearing. Is this about right? And they all went, oh, yeah, no, and then we were off because they actually agreed with each other without realizing to start off with. And people went, how did you do that? Well, rather than forcing their heads together, I went and listened to what it was that they understood about it and realized it was all the same.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful in terms of both groups being of service to each other.
Yeah, and I kind of took it a little further and thought of the project as a library project where the seniors will be the books and the young folks at the university would come to the library and check out a book and then do a book report at the
Ah,
end. And then we'll share all of that within like a circle.
cool.
So yeah, it's and that really pleased my heart in a way to know that wow, there are opportunities to have fun with it as well as watch the magic of connection happen.
Yeah.
You know,
And create a body of physical knowledge that people can share and and read into and bits and pieces. That's a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So with all this explanation of where we've come from, uh, and I'll be the narrator for a second. Take your job. What what is our um, what is our method or modality? And what I've seen is that by our being open, there is no limit to where this can go, as long as we don't try to take ownership or particularly control, that we have the structures that are truly open. So I think there's no limits, and as Sid would say, I'm very simply, I just want to relieve the suffering in the world.
Mm.
And
I think that is a wonderful place to call an end to it. I think that final sentiment, Dave, is what we're all trying to achieve, and sums up a lovely conversation. So thank you both so much for coming.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You are very welcome.
Appreciate you sharing the love, bro.
You are very welcome. It's lovely to see you both.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.